and welcome to the Smashi Business Show. Today is Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. Ramadan Kareem to all of you, and I'm Ward Ahmed.
And I'm Richard Fitzgerald, Ramadan Kareem.
And for today's headlines, Gulf sovereign wealth funds are back in play as Warner Bros. Reopens, Paramount talks, and Stake has secured $31 million in a Series B led by Emirates and BD to scale its global real estate investing platform. And Prince Alwaleed's combined stake in Elon Musk's companies have reached $9 billion. I think that there's so many changes coming this year. Me and Rich were just talking about how it's crazy, we're already in Ramadan. I think when we reach Ramadan, it's almost like you feel like the year's moving quickly, but it's actually just Feb. And we just had Valentine's 1 week ago, and then you had Mo Gadat, and he launched Emma.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy, because if I'm correct, and I watched his entire panel at SEF, isn't he like an AI hater? I'm pretty sure he's not the biggest fan of artificial intelligence, but he launched this love app, and Smashi, we had a chat with Shazad Yunus, the founder of Muz, formerly Muzmatch, and it's just there's so much competition there, so many people who are starting love apps, and I don't know if the Muslim world is the place for it. To be honest with you, what do you think, Rich? Do you think it's a sound investment?
I like the way the Muslim world and entrepreneurs make versions that are halal, that are that are Islamic, because I think it is important. I think we've seen lots of things about basically Western culture and non-Islamic culture in digital doesn't always transfer into 2-point-something billion Muslims on the planet, right? So I think dating's one of those, gambling's another one of those. We see that if you try and go on the Polymarked website in the UAE, it's blocked, just like any other DraftKings or Paddy Power or any other gambling website is blocked in the UAE. And similar, like Kalshi, Lebanese founder, they're into predictive, but essentially it's sports betting, right? Essentially it's gambling and prediction on outcomes in the future, but they're trying to sort of repackage it. So what does a version like that look here, per se? And then, if we think about dating, obviously the Islamic culture and dating is different to other cultures, but matchmaking, I do sort of encourage and embrace, I do think tech can be a net positive, and I do think that it's good that there are innovators out there solving those things and providing not just local as in Arab founders are started in Dubai, but also culturally relevant versions of technology and innovations. We talk a lot about AI, we talk a lot about that type of software related to the region. So I wouldn't necessarily, we could go deeper, and maybe it would be better on a Valentine's Day special rather than the first day Ramadan. We could go deeper on relationship apps and Islam in the region, but it's nice to see. That's what's so exciting about this region and business and this type of job, right? And the Smashi business is that we can predict what's coming, and then you wake up on the 14th of Feb and Mo Gadat, who we know as an ex-Google engineer and a thought leader and a speaker at conferences, has books and everything, has now launched a tech product that's AI enabled. And I think just every day there's something, right? Every day.
Definitely is. I think he probably really does believe in it. I just think the Muslim conversation, I won't get into it too much.
You can't.
I just really believe in it, because it's I remember I was reading a while ago on our newsletter, and basically we covered the story that in Abu Dhabi, they launched this app, and I'm pretty sure they have it here too, where people can do their Katb Kitab on the app. And they made everything easier, and people went crazy over that story. So it's I'm thinking perhaps if you're gonna...
I signed my Quebec tab on an iPad.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
This is what I'm thinking. Maybe use AI to make the processes easier, but I'm not sure about dating apps, because I told Shazad Yunus when I was interviewing him, I'm so sorry, but I really don't believe that you guys are going to do that expansion you want in the Middle East, because I am an Arab, and it's shameful for us. I'm not judging people. I know people who got married on like Muzmatch. Good for them. I'm happy for them. Great matches, but it's just like I think even Zahran Mamdani.
What's shameful about it to be seeking love?
It's not shameful to be seeking love. I don't think that. I don't judge people. But I just know for me, and I know for many of the Arab women that I know from the UAE, from Saudi, from Lebanon, for them to be on that app, to be caught on that app by somebody else, maybe like they can be anonymous, but it's just that's like an issue.
Yeah, but I think some of them are anonymous and some. But you know, online dating was also shameful in Western culture. Like Ireland is
sorry,
conservative.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like you'd be afraid. You wouldn't admit. Like people don't admit they're on GLP-1s or whatever. But in Ireland, people wouldn't admit that they're on dating apps. And it only lately became sort of, oh, where did you meet on Bumble or on, you know, these apps? Like people only really kind of say that without shame anymore in any culture. Like to be, you know, it's not just that's why I was curious about the reference. But yeah, you wouldn't tell people in Ireland that you met online. It's more cooler to be sought out in a cafe or to, you know, or for people to chase you or whatever, you know, or to admire you or whatever and ask you out, like rather than you sort of put yourself out. Like it takes a lot for someone to put themselves out there and to have the courage to do it, just like it takes a lot the courage to have to start a business as a female or a male or anyone. But also like, you know, companionship and love is important, and so is the sanctuary of a family, right? And these things are important. So if technology can enable it in a way that's, you know, Islamic, you know, in accordance with Islam, and also that's also respecting people's dignity and not shaming them per se, I think then that's on the onus of the apps and on the, you know, on doing it that way. And I think some of them are better than others.
No, that is true. But you know, on the like generally on apps, Rich, I was taking a look at Kalshi, and Rich mentioned it's by Tariq Mansour, the Lebanese guy. He was in fact raised in Beirut, and I saw this post on Kalshi, and it was just about one of these like U.S. senators. This lady, I believe she's from Ethiopia or Eritrea. I don't quite remember. But she's very famous because a lot of American Republicans are targeting her and saying that this lady married her brother. She has a second husband so that she can save him from being deported from America. And that, you know, out of nowhere, apparently she's like a billionaire. And it's like, it's basically placing, people have to place bets on this specific story on Kalshi on, you know, is the U.S. government going to drop her as an official? Are they going to remove her? And I just remember looking at this story and I was like, oh, this just feels really wrong. Like, I feel like I'm preying on people's downfall if I were to like, you know, use that. So it's like with these apps, it's like, how do you draw the line? I mean, look, it's a great story. Mansour is a billionaire. You know, he's representing the Arab region in Silicon Valley. He too, like Amjad Masad, the Palestinian, Jordanian American founder of Replit, also got backing from Y Combinator by Paul Graham. He's doing great for himself. But it's like when you see things like these, you know, since we're in Ramadan, is that ethical? You know, for me to come and bet that this lady who seems to have a great life with her husband and her children, who's a Muslim woman, is just about to be dropped by the government. And you can see that people are placing bets that she will be dropped. And I'm just there like, oh, I just feel this is wrong. And they're making news out of it. It's almost like Kalshi has become news. And it is. They have a partnership with the CNN and the CNBC.
Yeah, they do. They have partnerships on that as well.
So it's just, you know, where do you draw the line? And right now, Paramount and Warner Bros. Equally do not seem to be drawing the line on what they want to do. So Warner Bros. Discovery has reopened discussions with Paramount Skydance, potentially reigniting a takeover battle with Netflix. So Paramount's $108 billion hostile bid is backed by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, Qatar Investment Authority, and Abu Dhabi's Al Ahmad Holding.
So what happened here is back in November, I guess WBD under David Zaslav kind of shocked people and said, we're going with Netflix. We're taking the 80 billion investment and it's just for our streaming assets, and the SpinCo, the cable assets, are being siphoned off elsewhere, but Netflix has no interest in that. And Paramount are like, no, we want to pay more, but we want everything, and we give you over 100 billion. And Netflix are like, we don't like your bid. There's no backing with money. You know, David Ellison, Skydance, who have Paramount, we don't think you've got all the money. And then his dad, Larry Ellison, said, I will stopgap this. I will personally guarantee, he's one of the richest people in the world, I will guarantee this. So some of these things brought momentum back in play. The sovereign wealth funds in the region were putting in 3 pockets of 8 billion each, 24 billion in non-voting equity, and that's really important for the US with media that that it's not owned by foreign governments or some wealth funds. So their capital underpins Paramount's effort to outbid Netflix and to gain control of one of Hollywood's most valuable assets.
So Paramount previously offered $30 per share, but has now indicated once again that it could raise it to about $31 if Warner Bros. Authorizes formal discussions. Now, the board has opened a 7-day window to determine whether Paramount can actually deliver a binding, improved final offer.
So Netflix actually have a signed merger agreement with Warner Brothers, and there's actually a break clause of about $6 billion if they want to get out of it. So it granted a limited waiver allowing these talks, but retains full matching rights. So they can go back and do this higher 31 bid if they want at their at the assets that they are going to buy. So superior value and certain, while criticizing Paramount's approach during bidding process, this is getting dirty. Like there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a lot of pieces that play in a major M&A deal where, we've seen things like activist investors are buying up some more shares, and they're on the Paramount side, and there's voting rights, and all the people who make this decision. I mentioned David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, but he's got a board, and there's people on that board who have voting rights. So what seems to be happening is they're being contacted on a one-on-one basis.
Yeah.
And they're asked.
He went right directly to them.
Yeah, and they've been, and they're so, oh, do we curry a favor? So what's happened in the last 2 months is the momentum has swung back to, like, we really thought, like, it was a shock, but then we thought, okay, Netflix have got this. And now then it kind of swung back, and now it's like, well, they're going to come back to the table because Warner Bros. Discovery were like, no, we really like the Netflix bid, and we also believe that our IP, all our famous movies, all our famous characters, all our Sopranos, all these different things, all our HBO assets over the years will be protected better in a Netflix world. In other words, they'll be invested in more, they'll make new series, more people will see it in the streaming world. Yeah, and there is also some coming to the table of Ted Sarandos, the co-CEO of Netflix, where he's saying, well, I know I haven't been pro-cinemas lately, and I don't like the 30-day window. I want it to be on streaming early. I want it to be 15 days, and custodians of the studio cinema world and protectors of Hollywood want it to be 45 days, so more people come to the cinema, they make more money, and then it goes to streaming. So they're sort of saying we'll come halfway and we'll be on 30 days or whatever. So they do think that Netflix will protect some of that cinema world, and they don't really see that Paramount, who are in debt, who came from nothing really. Skydance was a production house, a very good one. And then Paramount was really struggling when Sherry Redstone sold it to another big bidding thing for about 7 or 8 billion a few months ago. And suddenly he gets Paramount, David Ellison, the young guy, 42 or so, and he's like, now I want to go for the big Warner Brothers Discovery.
And then he brings his dad.
And he brings his dad in as a backbone.
The Gulf, help me. The Sovereign Wealth Fund, Saudi, you too, come here. But I just, honestly, with the entire story, like Rich mentioned, the reason why it's so aggressive is because from what I know that Paramount placed their bid, then Warner Bros. Discovery said, we like Netflix more, and then they went directly to the shareholders. Now, from what we know, honestly, when you think about Netflix, I think that either way, this is a win-win for them. Because I think that with this entire, even if it does not go through, because I think the fact, for me, myself, it was a shocker that Netflix had that much money to acquire something. Like, I'm not someone who really usually keeps up with their balance sheets.
They're valued at 300 or 400 billion on their market cap, and they make 200 billion a year, and they've been profitable for a few years. Like, they spend about 20 billion a year on content. Right, so all the shows that they spend about 17 to 20 billion a year. They've actually got a pretty good. They're not in debt. They've got pretty good free cash flow, and they will take loans for this. So they will take loans, but they'll do it in cash. So they'll pay this nearly all in cash with loans, and the loans are done in an interesting way. So yeah, it is a bit surprising that they can afford it, and it's a huge number. Like the 108 billion that the Paramount bid for all of Warner Brothers Discovery, or the 82 billion for its streaming content. So what you've got in there is you've got Max, which was called HBO Max. It's that streaming service. And who are the other players here? There's Disney. There's Disney Plus. There's there's Peacock.
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Peacock is under Comcast, which is the Roberts family, and then you've got Apple in the US, and we have lots of players in this region. But really, Netflix are trying to take Warner Brothers. They're trying to take one competitor, which is HBO Max, which is about 30 million subscribers, out of the streaming wars, and they're also trying to be the de facto biggest one and not let like Disney and etc. What did Bob Iger, who recently hasn't fully stepped down, but they've announced his Josh D'Amaro to replace him. So Bob Iger, before he was left the first time as CEO, the last deal he did in his first 15-year tenure as CEO of Disney was to acquire all the Simpsons assets from Rupert Murdoch for what was then billed as a $72 billion deal, meaning he knew that his streaming service needed loads of shows, loads of historic IP and assets. And Netflix see the data. They know that How I Met Your Mother or Friends or this catalog shows.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but they see the stats that, yes, they might be launching Ozark 3 or Dubai Bling or Bollywood Bling or whatever the new show is coming out, or Something Habibi or whatever, right? They might be launching these shows, but they know from the data that the old stuff are watched on repeat. People binge watch old stuff. So that's why they're doing this. That's why they're putting the old shows into the watch time without having to license or pay license fees, because they see the data that, a big thing in streaming is churn. And Ramadan started today, I was actually just opening the Shahid app to see if the shows are on now or do we have to wait till iftar time, and the shows have been dropped. This is the one that I'm going to watch.
With Hood al-Mufti? Yeah. Oh, I really want to watch that one.
I really want to watch it, and you can watch it now, but we have to wait till the evening. So this is when the peak uplift goes, right? So Shahid and everyone in the region will have massive uplift on subscription in the next 30 days. How do you keep them?
And don't forget that joint partnership, the bundle partnership between Shahid and Netflix.
And
so even the Middle East.
OSM Plus. Oh, sorry. So the Netflix and Shahid is the box deal, but they have a 3-for-2 subscription bundle as well between Shahid, Disney Plus, and OSM Plus. So that's the 3-for-2 subscription. But yeah, you're right about the Netflix bundle.
No, but I think that's exactly what's interesting. The fact that you have Shahid, who is like the winner here, partnering with Netflix, it's telling you something. They know that Netflix is winning too. It's better to get on their good side than their bad side. I just think with this entire deal, in America, there's just so much noise right now. There's so much noise. You hear about the Epstein files. You hear about this entire battle for Warner Bros. Discovery. But I think that the Americans are definitely missing a story here. They're so focused on all of these wars that are happening all at once. And I think they miss the small things that are happening in their country. And I think one of them is honestly MGX. I know it's kind of unrelated, but it just made me think of, the Ellisons, and it made me think of TikTok, because TikTok, and a lot of people always mention this, and American media will constantly tell you that it was Larry Ellison that took over TikTok US. No, it was not just Larry Ellison. You have Silver Lake and you have MGX, all of whom got a very equal stake. It was 15%. So you have this UAE company, MGX, that is trying to invest over $10 billion in AI. They invested into OpenAI, they invested into Anthropic, xAI, and then now they have a 15% stake of TikTok. And it's like American media just seems to completely miss that story. And it's so big.
But just it is a big story, and but just to go back on they are related somehow in media and entertainment. But just to go back on the Warner Brothers bidding war, what's happening a lot lately is the large language models, which is related to the AI investments, right? Like we see these sovereign wealth funds going into this bid, and we see MGX, and we see billions of dollars going to Anthropic or going to OpenAI or going to all these things. And what are they producing? Some of them are producing language models for video or generative AI. There's Luma.ai, Luma Labs have announced an opening of an office and a partnership with Humane in Saudi, where Humane invested in Luma. And we see other ones. ByteDance, TikTok, as you mentioned, have a language model, a video model called Seed Dance, which is taking off. And there's also Kling 3. Google have VO4 or 5. And these models are basically all over X and all over everywhere, and there's infringement rights. One of these entities, I think Disney Plus, sent a cease and desist to Seed Dance saying don't use our IP after a viral video. And Love and Dubai Show had it on the show here yesterday of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise in a viral video talking about the Epstein files, but it was all AI. So what's shocking to me is that someone who sees that movies are going to be made with AI is willing to put 100 billion into movies that weren't made by AI, the past. Whereas the future is just so bloody obvious to me. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not going to replace everything. We will still have actors. We still will have content creators. We still will have TikTok algorithms. But we are going to be watching AI movies. In fact, it's so already there, right? And so I'm not bidding. If I'm a runner of a media company, I'm not bidding for Warner Brothers Discovery assets. I know Netflix are big enough now, and it is their coming of age, and I get the rationale behind it. But I think it's wasted money, and I think it's wasted money, and I think there's, there was a nice example. I listened to a lot of podcasts on this, and they say like, the winner will probably be better off than the loser. Right, because there's just so much IP there, but it'll probably turn out that they've overpaid for it, and while they're so, this is something I'm adding, is like while they're so caught up in bidding for a year or two, and Trump said, they asked Trump, "Are you going to get involved?" He said, "I'll let the Department of Justice decide. Is this, is this something that, what's the words? Anyway, if this is conducive to business or whatever." So. What's the words when
approval?
Yeah. So what's the words when antitrust? Yeah.
Oh,
so antitrust.
okay.
So basically, like, is it a monopoly? Do they block the merger on grounds of antitrust? So so people are kind of saying like, are Netflix too big now? So will it be blocked by the courts or whatever? But basically, I think something else is going to come up. I've just been sent investment decks for new filmmaking creator things with all AI. Like, it's just moving so fast. Hollywood isn't been eaten up by Netflix anymore. That's the last 20 years. The next 20 years is going to be the AI generated stuff.
Oh, Rich, you know what this reminded me of? Remember that advertisement that we were talking about, the one for the luxury Tupperware, and it was by this Kuwaiti artist, and I think the entire thing is AI. And I don't know how he made it, but he basically said that he actually made the sounds for the Tupperware and the music right before he made the video. But it was all AI, and I don't.
The video is AI?
I don't think I realized it's AI because it does not look like it. It doesn't look like it whatsoever.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I just, I'm against the death of creativity and films. Let's see what happens. But moving to our next story. For the day, we're going to be discussing a company that is becoming extremely important in the UAE and in the prop tech industry, the platform Stake, which has closed a $31 million oversubscribed Series B round led by Emirates NBD, with participation from Mubadala's MENA Venture Capital Fund, MEVP, Property Finder, STV, Wa'ad Ventures, GFH Partners, and Ellington Properties.
Did you know that Emirates NBD leads investment rounds? I'm fascinated by that. It must be
This is
a
the first
venture
time I've
fund.
heard of it, actually.
Yeah. Usually they help with taking people public, but actually leading a venture round as a VC is interesting. So founded in 2021 by Manar Masani, Rami Tabara, and Ricardo Brizido. If people are watching the video, they'll see the nice photo of the three of them, or people are listening online on the podcast as well. So what does Stake do? It enables fractional real estate investment from as little as 500 dirham. The company now serves more than 2 million users, that's a large number, across 181 countries, recording over 130% of GMV, and 100% revenue of CAGR.
Now, for them, Saudi Arabia is a key focus. In Q4 2024, Stake became the first CMA-regulated platform, opening the kingdom's property market to global investors. Now, it has since closed 3 Saudi funds, attracting just about 7,000 international investors and channeling 416 million riyals.
Beyond the GCC, Stake expanded into the US industrial real estate in October 2025 and launched Stake One, digitizing full property ownership after sale asset management, which is interesting. The platform is also advancing regulation across PropTech as well. And regulated tokenization, I meant. So that's another element that Stake didn't have, which makes things more liquid under Dubai's VARA on the tokenization side, yeah.
And with total funding now at $58 million, Stake positions itself as digital infrastructure for cross-border real estate ownership. Now, it's backed by some regional financial heavyweights. The company is accelerating institutional partnerships while reshaping how global investors access regulated income generating property markets. I think with their story, they're actually the first to do it in the UAE with fractional real estate ownership. But I definitely think that Amira Sajwani, the Damak Properties managing director, will definitely come for them soon with Pripco, and I'm excited to see it happen. But I think with their entire story, it's just inspiring because, you know, you have these 3 guys, they're not from the UAE. They build this company that's now getting like $50 million. And I remember one of them, they were speaking at SCF, and I was just watching the panel, and they were basically just generally saying that, you know, the dreams that they had for like New York or like, you know, Paris, like everything is here. And I think also with this entire story, the reason why I also admire it so much is because it's that concept of like everyone getting equal opportunity, of democratizing a product. You know, for people who can't afford a whole home, they can now have fractional ownership, but much more than that right now, and we see it kind of in the startup ecosystem, is that there is so much success. You know, we see it with Stake. We also see it with this, I think it's like this wellness company. It's called Peak. This was actually not announced, by the way, but I'm pretty sure that they got like $2 million. And most importantly, we saw it with Breadfast. I could not, like, Rich, I was so shocked when I saw that story. That you have Breadfast, it's going to become like, it is becoming the delivery giant of Egypt, and they have the Saudi Alwaleed group and Mubadala investing in them.
So brilliant, isn't it?
I think that's so big.
So great.
How did they court these investors now? Where did you find them?
Yeah, it's good. It's great to see. I know Mustafa, one of the founders, and it's just really nice to see Breadfast grow. And also Stake, yeah, like, you know, we hear all the stories of the property launches and the real estate companies. You know, Benghazi had their the broker awards last night. Lots of people are doing lots of big things in prop tech, in property, I mean in real estate, but it's nice to see a prop tech story coming from the region as well. And we saw that Property Finder, who are the sort of original prop tech company here, that they invested in Stake. That's pretty cool. And getting into Saudi as well, as Stake did from Dubai, and that's what Breadfast did. Their next move from Egypt was into Saudi about 2 years ago. And, you know, what's really nice story about both of them is they kind of did it themselves. There wasn't anyone before them in what they were doing. And then they entered the market themselves and then received the investors after. And I love the Breadfast story. I love the fact that Elaine Group and how much did they raise? Like 50 million as well?
Yeah, I think it was $50 million in total. But how did they find them? You know, Rich, I actually saw photos, and Lubna Al-Ulayan, the Saudi female billionaire, first Saudi female billionaire in the entirety of Saudi Arabia, and her and the Mubadala chairman, Khaldoon Al-Mubarak, are always pictured together. I think that they have very close links, both companies, but it's just, how do these, because you're an investor, Rich, how do you usually court these kind of investors? Like, how do you find them? For like the people listening, how would you advise?
Well, I don't go, I invest a little bit on the FTSE fund and media tech, like kind of smaller tickets, but I get a decent deal flow. I have a lot of access to the industry and a lot of events, and every event that we go toward, there's always loads of booths and startups, so it's nice to go shopping there per se. But, you know, so you can kind of, as an investor, you can find your own, but I think what good founders have that skill of telling the story of their company, of going out with pitch decks and approaching venture capital firms. And there's different stages. You know, the boat companies that we're talking about now, they would be in the growth stage, the Series C, Series D stage. So it was said of the region that we don't have enough funds in the growth stage. Like we have plenty of funds in the sort of angel and Series A amounts, like the 1 million, the 2 millions or whatever. But we don't have a lot in the growth stage, and it is harder to find bigger funds, especially sector-focused ones. Like here, we're talking about the interesting thing when I saw Breadfast, and I know we did a story on it. It reminded me a bit of Kotopi in that they're vertical, they're fully verticalized. In other words, they started off, they actually make the bread. Like the original idea in 2017 was to get fresh bread at 5:30 in the morning in Egypt, a country and a city that's historic images of bread and people. You know that lovely image that you still see in the streets of Cairo of the delivery guy on his bike with the big loaf of bread on his head. You always see it in there.
Yeah.
So bread and delivery in the morning is like milk and newspapers in other countries or whatever in Egypt, and they digitized it, and then they went into their own brand, and they have their own coffee like Starbucks. You have Breadfast stores. You have Breadfast protein bars. I've tasted them. You have Breadfast their own
protein bars.
Yeah, and you have got lots of their own brands in the delivery app. And if you go on the delivery app now, you can do anything on it, groceries, anything. I can send my mother-in-law a breakfast in Egypt in the morning with kefir, whatever pronounce it, all the nice fresh pastries in the morning on Breadfast, just like that. So the fact that, yes, everyone app can do that now, but point is that they're vertically aligned. So why did I mention Kotopi? Kotopi own their own restaurants, they own their kitchens, and they have cloud kitchens, but they also have stores. They're not just doing the delivery. So there's a bit of a difference, and I think investors took a while. And it's interesting, we often talk about whether Kotopi have investor momentum on their side now, and whether they're ready to go public. But I think signs that Mubadala and Alwaleed Group believe in this vertical alignment. So Breadfast aren't going, we're just doing what Kareem does or what Talabat does or Delivery does. We're actually doing what, basically Spinneys or Kipsons or we're making our own products, or Tesco or whatever, and our Lulu or whatever, making our own product. We have our own cafes like Starbucks, and we're doing and when we move into Saudi, we're doing the last mile. You will see our motorbikes, our pink logo Breadfast motorbikes all over the city, and there will be that delivery part. So I think the fact that they got 50 million at a later stage, and I think they're almost at unicorn value, shows that people believe in this vertical alignment. And I think of it from a media point of view. Do you build a streaming service that hosts other people's content? Or do you make your own content and build a streaming service and do the subscription? And that's what vertical alignment is. Like, do you build the factory yourself? Sephora, do you know what I mean? Like, how holistic do you do? And the problem with a startup and getting early money is that, usually you do one of those things. And that's why it's hard to raise money for the kitchens, to raise money for making the bread and the delivery and the technology and the marketing and the bricks and mortar. So it's a harder thing to do, but as an investor, you kind of think that it is better if you own everything yourself because the margins are better.
It is, and I remember when I was talking to Hamad Al-Hajri himself, and he just like
Snunu.
Snunu, and he basically Snunu got acquired by Jahiz, which is like the market leader in Saudi Arabia, and I believe they took like 70% of it for over $200 million, and they even made Hamad Al-Hajri the CEO of Jahiz International to lead their expansion strategies, because Jahiz does have a lot of subsidiaries in different markets, but he actually told me that you can book a movie through Snunu. But I'm listening to what you're saying, Rich, and I'm thinking of Kotopi specifically, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure like they're behind Batch Cookies, Hot Bun, is it called Hot Bun? All of these like different brands. but it's kind of that question of like, who is the hidden hand here? You know, if you're working under these companies, these corporations, like I'm thinking of the people right now that are basically like merging all of these services into one thing and owning all of these different restaurants. It's like, say I'm Ward and I come and I develop a food concept for Katopi, right? I don't think I'm probably going to get that much out of it. Or like, say I'm an employee in Katopi and I don't know, I developed one of their like really famous, say it's like batch cookies. I don't think I'm going to get that much out of it. Why? Because everything is just under that same circle. So I think that with these hidden hands that are involved with these people, I think you have to kind of be careful. You know, I don't think that I'd go to like Katopi and tell them, oh, I have this really amazing food concept that's going to go famous, because they'll just, I'm thinking of that relationship there and how exactly that goes with these brands that they developed. Because I don't think, of course, Katopi is not going to be behind all of them. They have someone who's probably administering all of these ideas. I'm thinking of these things because, like, I think that Chef Noel, you know, the main guy behind the Dubai viral chocolate, I think his story really does tell you that. I think it was Sarah Hamouda, the founder of Dubai Viral Chocolate. See, I'm calling it Dubai Viral Chocolate. Their PR has gotten in my head. No, Fix Dessert.
Fix, yeah.
Fix Dessert. I think that she actually got his help to make the original Fix chocolate bar, and in the end, he did not get credit or whatever it was, but now he went on Shark Tank Dubai. He's running his company, which is doing pretty well for itself, and then he's developing recipes for Fadi cakes, and people are saying that it's pretty good, but it's that thing there of like companies like Katopi, they're so great, but I personally would never develop a food concept for them, because I think that seriously, I think my recognition would go under the rug. Like nobody would ever know.
Yeah, but it's you're right, but I think the point is like, what's your job? What's the scope? But also like, you know, sometimes like it is okay to develop something within an organization. Like, are you an intrapreneur or an entrepreneur? Like, it is okay. Like, you know, perhaps the person who develops the new flavor of coffee works 20, 30 years and becomes the CEO of a 10 billion listed breadfast in Tadawul in Saudi, and the founders are all gone. And you're the CEO of a 10 billion listed company because you develop concepts. Do you see the point? Like, who becomes the CEO? Because ultimately, these companies are going public, and the founders have sort of cashed out a lot. And yes, they get shares, but who's getting the $2 million salary a year? The founder isn't getting that now. So the CEO of Breadfast in 2040 is going to be on the big money, right? Yeah. And how do you get there? Do you get there by sort of not wanting the business to succeed because you want to do it yourself? Fine. And you can. There's nothing wrong with that. But potentially you can be the person who leads the own brand strategy at Katopi and learns leadership and development skills and shows that you're the person to take them public and be the CEO when they're public, because this is what investors are looking for. And they're looking for, and ultimately, like, we glorify founders and CEOs a lot. I mean, founder CEOs, and we glorify a lot. Yeah. Ultimately, it's a job. Like, I have a job. I'm an employee. It's not as glorious as you think, right? Yeah. And yes, it seems like control. It seems I'm going to get better, but my salary is nowhere near a CEO salary of a listed media company in the region. Absolutely nowhere near. And if I take Augustus Media public, and we're making inshallah, and taking 100 or 200 million dollars revenue a year, the CEO at that time probably won't be me in 10, 15 years' time. Maybe, I don't know. And they will be earning 3 or 4 times more than I'm earning now. And they'll get shares and they'll get dividends. You get the point. So, but how do they
We're really selling this right now.
But how do you, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, because we think that we glorify the founder, and we think that, yes, the founders of Mo Balut and his co-founders at Katopi, or the steak guys we just mentioned, or the Mustafa and his team and his co-founders in Breadfast, we think that that's the be-all and end-all, right? But actually, when these companies are billion-dollar companies, not trillion yet, they're billion-dollar listed companies on EGX, ADX, DFM, or Tadawul, or NASDAQ, or wherever, the CEOs of those companies are getting the $20 million a year. way more. That these founders will cash out on secondaries for $5-10 million. But there's nothing wrong with, look at Hamad Al-Abar, look at the earnings results, look at all the earnings that are coming from the stock markets in the region at the moment. Look at ADNOC's earnings. Look how much money they're making.
$700 million in dividends to their shareholders.
Yes, and how much are those CEOs being paid? And how much are people on the boards being paid? I will tell you a lot more than these CEOs and founders, 10 times more, right? And also, so it just puts things in perspective.
No, I think it definitely is that growth mindset. You know, when I was listening to you, like when you were speaking, I think that when you kind of get into that groove of like the 9 to 5 every single day, and then you have like Noor Suwaid from Global Ventures telling you to live in the future, you need multiple jobs. It's kind of difficult. It's difficult to, realize that, wait, there is that growth there, that if I work hard enough, like you never know who's going to become CEO. And we always see it so many times, like happen in so many companies where someone stays for like 10, 18 years and they get that CFO role or they get that CEO role. And I just no, that was honestly really inspiring to hear. I think we need to realize that that growth is there if you make the path for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like we just saw a new CEO at DP World. That the value of DP World, I think, that's a huge job, right? Like, and if you take the entrepreneur and the VC advice of having 10 jobs, and there's nothing wrong with that mindset, right? It's just a different mindset. You can't be the CEO of a public listed company that's worth billions. You can't, unless you're Elon Musk or whatever. But like even he segue into the last one. Even he's sort of combining all his entities.
Yeah, he most definitely is combining all of his entities, and this is having an effect. So the combined value of Prince Alwaleed bin Talal's stake, alongside Kingdom Holding, he's a very big investor into Elon Musk, across Elon Musk's linked ventures now stand at an estimated $9 billion. And it's kind of like coming back to that point you mentioned, Rich, of years ago, people like Prince Alwaleed could have never seen how much, X would have ballooned to. They would have never seen the heights it would have reached. And that includes exposure to X, XAI, SpaceX, and Starlink, making this one of the Gulf's most significant tech positions. So Alwaleed first invested $130 million in Twitter back in 2011. So, that's $9 billion now. And this was long before Elon Musk's takeover. He later supported Musk's 2022 acquisition of the platform, rolling his stake into what is now X, maintaining influence through Kingdom Holdings' continued backing. From what I know, from his podcast with Tucker Carlson, is that he hopped on a call with Elon Musk immediately, and he's like, "Listen, I'm not divesting my stake." And last year, he also said that he had actually invested roughly $3 billion in X, and he also indicated that the platform's valuation had recovered after several volatile years.
Yeah, so that rebound, he suggested, was partially driven by Musk's proximity to US President Donald Trump. Alwaleed himself has had a long-standing ties to Trump, including high-profile transactions in the 1980s involving the Plaza Hotel and Trump Princess Yacht.
And today, with Musk's empire spanning artificial intelligence, satellite communications, and space technology, Alwaleed's exposure extends far beyond social media. The $9 billion figure underscores how early positioning in Musk's ventures has evolved into, a strategic cross-sector technology bet. And I think it kind of comes back to that point that you mentioned. In 2011, I think he put in like millions of dollars. Who would have ever known that it would be valued now at billions of dollars?
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of talk at the moment about this IPO and whether the people who invested in SpaceX all along are doing well. That XAI has been thrown in the mix because SpaceX with Starlink is making $8 billion a year or whatever, and Twitter or X, which is now XAI, is losing money. So he basically he talked about going public with SpaceX in maybe June or whatever, and then out of nowhere 2 weeks ago he's just like, well, I'm throwing in XAI, so it's SpaceX AI, and we thought that SpaceX was valued at 800 billion and it would go public at $1 billion or whatever, and now we're told that it's valued at $1 billion and XAI is valued at 250 billion. and it's gone public at 1.25 billion, or maybe more. So people are wondering who's better off here or not. Like, is it the SpaceX people? Is it the XAI people? We started the show talking about Warner Brothers Discovery and momentum swinging back and forth. At the moment, XAI, SpaceX has so much momentum. The private markets are hopping. People want to get in on this. It's the biggest stock market listing ever. No company has ever raised and went public at $1.5 trillion. Like, it is massive to go public, to IPO at that value. And it's really going to change the landscape of the public markets for the year. Like, people don't know, are we having a stock correction this year or not, like what's happening, but this is the blockbuster. This is the biggest thing that's going to happen in the financial markets. So much money is going to move into this IPO. And it's the talk of the Wall Street, and it's huge. So yeah, for sure, Walid bin Talal is going to be watching it very closely.
Yeah, and he'll definitely be watching all of Saudi Arabia's matches, as he is set to become, by the way, a 100% acquirer of Al Hilal. And that's a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the Smashi Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashi Business and stay ahead with our daily newsletter. You'll find the subscription link in the description.
This has been a Smashi Business Show, a Smashi Business production, part of the Gus's Media Podcast Network. Big shout out to over 2.5 million reach across platforms. You make this possible every month. So if you're one of them, appreciate you. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.